Hello everyone, my name is Laura. I love to crochet. I'm back. I know it's been a little while since I posted a video. I was just getting back into the swing of things after the holidays and jumping right back into the busyness of life. So it's been a little slow on the knit and crochet front over here, but I did something really fun the other day that I wanted to share with you guys. It's something that I've always wanted to try and I was really interested in giving a shot, and that is dyeing my own yarn. I know there's lots of amazing small businesses and hand-dyed yarn creators here on YouTube, and I love watching those videos. I love watching the process, and it's always a dream of like, what would my perfect custom yarn look like? What's the yarn that I've been dreaming about that I can't find in stores that I want to make? And I saw a class come up in my area that's hosted by a local Toronto yarn shop called Good Grief Yarns. So if you're in the GTA, I'll put all of the information about the course down below. I think they run them monthly, and it was such an amazing course. The instructor, who's the owner of the yarn shop, was phenomenal. She was really knowledgeable. She dyes all the yarns for her shop. And so she had a lot of great tips and tricks and really dove into the process of dyeing your own yarns. And it really felt like I was learning from a teacher. Like, it felt like a very constructive classroom environment, which I really like. And then we were set free to create our own yarns. So for the workshop, we used RIT dye. So not the kind of, I know there's other types of dye, I think it's called acid dyeing, where you need to wear like a ventilator or respirator and you are doing it more kind of chemically. This was just using RIT dyes, so less harmful and less chance of screwing it up. So that was really great and really accessible as well. There were tons of different colors to choose from. And then there were also solid pigments as well that you kind of could sprinkle over the yarn to add that texture or gradient that you see in a lot of hand-dyed yarns. So we had access to all of those things, pretty much every color of the rainbow, every kind of solid pigment you can imagine. And we learned how to either dilute or kind of strengthen the colors based on how much water and how much of the dye mixture you mixed together. So that was really interesting as well. Hopefully there's some clips playing now of what the course looked like. I tried to take a couple clips, but also I didn't want to impede in anyone's enjoyment of the workshop, so I tried to take whatever clips I could without being annoying. But yeah, it was such a beautiful afternoon. It only took 2.5 hours from start to finish, so not too long, and then you took the yarns home and let them dry at home. So I really loved it. It was a great experience. And again, if you want to try it out, I will link the information down below. So without further ado, I will show you the yarn that I dyed. It's right here. I hanked this myself, so I know it's kind of ugly, but this is the yarn. So I did one skein of wool and one skein of cotton, and I dyed them together in the same dye bath. So they were just sitting side by side when I dyed them, and you can see how different the fibers pick up the colors. Like, because the cotton is less porous than the wool, it came out a lot like lighter and more pastel and didn't grab onto the colors as much as the wool did. I'll do a little kind of 360 so that you can see. And so the base is mostly this kind of pastel green color. And then I added some areas that are more pink. So I just kind of did them in splotches throughout the yarn. So you can see that there. It didn't pick up as much on the cotton yarn. And I think if I were to do this again, I would go a little bit more saturated than I did before. I was nervous that things would get too vibrant, but I think going a little bit more vibrant than you think actually works better. So a good learning lesson from that. And then I added a bunch of solid pigment flecks, so you can really see that here. I was going for like a confetti cake look, so I used some pinks and blues and yellows to add a little bit of dimension to the yarn. So that's how it looks in the wool, and then you can see here in the cotton as well where I added those flecks of color in as well. And I really, really like the texture that adds to the yarn. So you can see again the difference between the cotton and the wool. So now I wanted to talk about my plans for this yarn that I've dyed. So the cotton, more of a summer weight. I kind of want to hold off on using that one until the spring and summer comes along and use it for a project at that point. So if you have any ideas for single skein kind of cotton projects for the summertime, definitely let me know. If there's something that I should be looking at, something I should be trying, I would love to hear if you have any thoughts about that. But because it's winter time and because I did dye a wool, I think it'd be great to make something out of the wool. So I'm thinking a beanie. I should have enough to do that, no problem. And I really love the bright colors for a winter accessory. I think it's going to be really cute. So definitely going to do a beanie, and I'm thinking about holding this yarn with Drops Melody. This is the color 6. It's like a dusty kind of bubblegummy pink color, and I thought these two together might make a really nice combination, and the pink can kind of pull out some of those pink tones that are in the yarn. So we'll see about that. But the bigger question is whether I'm going to knit or crochet with this yarn. And especially with yarns that are variegated and have a lot of different colors in them, they can look really different depending on if you knit or crochet them. So what I want to do now is take the time to do a swatch in knit and a swatch in crochet and see if there is one that I'm liking better than the other, how the colors are kind of pooling and all of that stuff. And then I'll show those to you and we can decide together if we are going to knit this hat or crochet it. But I'm so excited to get into this yarn, crack it open, start working with it, and see how it really looks all done up. I'm really, really excited. So I will pause it here. I'll make those swatches and then we can compare and see what we're going to use. Okay, swatches have been made. I have thoughts. Let's review them. So this is the crochet swatch. I just did a half double crochet in the back loop to test this out because that is what I think I will use if I do make a beanie out of crochet. So that's what it's looking like. Really nice. I like the way that the color is dispersing. No real issues there. I used a 4.5mm hook to do that swatch. And then the knit swatch. So this one had some issues because the only circular needles that I have are a 6.5mm, which is a little bit big for this weight of yarn. So it was giving it's just a little bit less dense than I would like. See how there's like when you stretch it, there's quite a bit of like gaps there. So these are the only circular needles that I have that have the right circumference, but the needle itself I think is just slightly too big for this gauge of yarn. So again, I like the way that the colors are looking. I like the way that things are pooling. I just did a fisherman's rib to see how that would look, so we can compare them side by side. I think the actual dispersion of the colors looks almost identical between the two techniques. It's really just the look of the stitches, and since I don't have circulars in the ideal size, I am going to go with crochet, which is good. That's a win for me because I can definitely crochet way faster than I can knit. I think I'm going to use the Cosmaudi. She just came out with a beanie pattern that's really stunning and I've been dying to try it. So I think I'm going to purchase that pattern and use that for this beanie. And then the last thing is to just see if we want to add this little bit of Drops Melody in with the yarn as well. I'm going to quickly swatch that up as well and see what that's looking like. I just didn't want to swatch it with each of the knit and crochet swatches because it's really hard to frog this yarn, and I didn't want to have to cut it and undo it, and all of that stuff. So I'm going to do a quick test with this, purchase the pattern that we need, and then get to making the beanie. Okay, quick progress update. I've been crocheting for about an hour now, and I'm really liking this pattern. Again, I'll link it down below. It's by Cosmaudi. I love following her on Instagram and TikTok. She does really great content and she makes amazing patterns. So this is how it's looking. Again, I really like the look of holding the two strands together, my yarn and the drops melody. I feel like it really lets the little flecks in my yarn stand out more against that background. So that's what it's looking like, kind of giving confetti cake vibes, and I'm really happy with how it's looking. So I'm going to just keep going and going on this. Hi everyone, I'm back. I got a haircut and I got a little bit sick. I don't know if you can still hear it in my voice. So the progress on the beanie took a little bit longer than I'd hoped, but it is done now. I'm going to give you the grand reveal. Because I was sick, I didn't get as much kind of progress footage as I would have liked, but hopefully there's a little bit in this video. But I essentially just followed the pattern, and then I used the mattress stitch to sew up the beanie and turn it into a round shape. And now we are done. So I'm going to show you what it's looking like. This is the beanie. So what I ended up doing was, instead of holding that fluffy pink yarn with every row, I added it every 3 rows instead. And I think it's nice because it adds a little bit of textural interest, and it kind of helps pop some of the pinks and yellows and other colors that are in the yarn without kind of taking over the color. When I was holding it with every row, it kind of muddied up the yarn that I was holding it with, which, because it's yarn that I hand dyed, I didn't want it to be too covered up by the other strand of yarn because I hand dyed it. I want it to shine. So that's why I ended up doing every 3rd row with that pink yarn, and I think it turned out really nicely. It adds a nice bit of dimension and texture. And also, when I was holding that yarn with every row, it was making the beanie really dense, and I think it was just a little bit too thick for what the pattern was calling for. So doing it for every 3rd row ended up working out really nicely. I love the colors. I'll show you the back as well. I love the colors. I think it came out really unique and colorful without being like unwearably colorful. And as you can see here, as it worked up, there's some nice little sections. I love the way that this row in particular looks, and some of that pink and yellow and blue really comes through. So that is what it's looking like now. But because this is wool, and because of kind of the way that this was constructed, I really want to block this beanie now that it's done. Just see if I could give it a little bit more ease, and see what it looks like after it's been blocked. So I'm going to go do that now. I have a video that I'll link somewhere up here where I go into a little bit more detail about how I block wool projects. So I'm not going to go into intense detail, but I'll still show you the process. And then I will try on the beanie after it's all dry, and we'll see how it's looking together. Okay, it's the next day. Our beanie has fully dried. I have it on the blocking board here, and it's time to take the pins out and do the grand reveal. Okay, the beanie has been blocked. I've taken it off of the blocking boards. This is what it's looking like now, and the texture is just so much better now that it's been blocked. It really like eased it all up a little bit, and I just think the shape as well is looking a lot nicer than it was before. I wish that you could feel it through the screen, but it really just feels a lot less dense and tight than it did before, so I'm really glad I took the time to block it. I never regret blocking anything. It always makes a good difference. But that is what it's looking like now. So I think the only thing left to do is try it on. So let's see what it looks like. I'm very excited. Oh yeah. So that is what it looks like on. It fits so nicely. I like that it has like a little bit of room at the top, but it's not super pointy. It fits really nicely around my head. It's not too tight around my forehead or my ears. And you can see, sorry, I'll try and get like close so that you can take a look, but you can see all of the different colors of the yarn coming through, all of that speckling, and the bands that I added, that fluffy yarn as well. And I think it adds a really nice texture. I like that I didn't do it for the whole beanie. I think it would have been too much, but the little bit of interest that it adds in those couple rows, I think is really nice. This section especially, I really love the way that the colors look there. But yeah, that is the final beanie. I still can't believe, like, it feels like I handmade the whole thing. Like, I hand dyed the yarn, I hand crocheted it, I blocked it, now I'm wearing it. It just like, I think adds to the process even more of the homemade feel of it when you are making your own yarn. So I'm so obsessed. I'm really, really in love with it. And I loved the process of learning how to hand dye my own yarn as well. And I think it's something that I'm going to continue to try and do more often, especially when there's something that I'm working on and I just can't find exactly the right color and exactly the right fiber that I'm looking for. It's nice to know that it's an option to be able to dye it. Yeah, I think it's a good sign for all of us to try something new, learn something new. That's the great thing about fiber arts crafts as well, is that there's always something new to learn, new to try. Maybe spinning my own yarn is the next thing to do. I would love like to go through that whole process, like spinning the yarn, dyeing the yarn, and making something like really from start to finish. I think it will take a while before I'm comfortable like spinning yarn, but yeah, I'm really, really happy with it. And really happy to have learned something new. So let me know what you think down below. When the summertime rolls around, I will pull out that cotton skein that I dyed and make something out of that too. So if you have any ideas about what I should make with that skein, let me know. I'm planning a lot more videos to come out in the next few weeks. So the dry spell is over, videos are back, very exciting. I have a few interesting things I think planned, so we'll see how those go. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for all of your support. Subscribe if you're not subscribed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.